Welcome to Whispers of the Web, where the hidden gems of the web come to life. Join us as we unravel the most fascinating tales, secrets, and discussions from across the web. Every whisper has a story. If you enjoy our journey through the whispers of the web, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the intrigue. Story number 1. Am I the a-hole for saying to my mom at family dinner, "Well, I wouldn't stay with a man who hits my kids, so I guess we have different priorities." I'm low contact with my parents because growing up my dad was physically abusive, and my mom was emotionally absent and neglectful. They are in town visiting other family members, and we all decided to have a family dinner to catch up. For some background, my boyfriend will usually get me a nicer main gift for whatever holiday we're celebrating, along with one or two smaller side gifts. The side gifts are usually something like a funny t-shirt or a stuffed animal. Last year for my birthday, one of the smaller gifts my boyfriend got me was a sweatshirt from Costco. It's just a gray sweatshirt with Costco's logo printed repeatedly all over it. My boyfriend said he just saw it and thought I would like it, and he was right. I really like it and I wear it all the time. I wore the Costco sweatshirt to family dinner last night. Someone at the table complimented it, and I said, "Thanks. My boyfriend got it for me for my birthday." My mom scrunched up her nose and loudly said, "He got you a sweater from Costco for your birthday?" I told her that wasn't the only thing he got me for my birthday, and she replied, "Oh good, I would never stay with a man who gave me a sweatshirt from Costco as a gift." I was pretty put off at that point, so I said, "Well, I wouldn't stay with a man who hits my kids, so I guess we have different priorities." My mom didn't really respond at that point, and I could tell my dad was pissed. They stayed pretty quiet throughout the rest of dinner. They don't like it when I bring up the fact that they used to hit us kids in front of people outside of our immediate family. My mom and dad were pretty angry at me when everyone else left though, and told me there was no need to embarrass my mom at dinner. They asked me to apologize and I won't. I'm second guessing though, am I the a-hole? I am no contact with half of my family due to abuse, so I can relate to your situation. I firmly believe that you're not the a-hole in this scenario. Your response to your mom was a direct and honest reflection of your feelings and experiences. It's important to stand up for yourself, especially when faced with past trauma and abuse. The comment your mom made about the gift from your boyfriend was dismissive and judgmental. Your reply, although sharp, was a valid expression of your perspective and the values you hold dear, especially given the context of your upbringing. It's understandable that such a comment would trigger a strong response, considering the history of physical abuse by your dad and emotional neglect by your mom. It's also important to recognize that you have every right to establish boundaries with your parents, especially when it comes to addressing past abuse. If bringing up these issues is necessary for you to maintain your sense of integrity and self-respect, then it's justified. It's not your responsibility to protect your parents from the consequences of their actions, particularly when those actions have caused harm. You should not feel obliged to apologize for speaking your truth, especially when it's about something as serious as abuse. It's crucial for your own well-being to be able to express your feelings and stand up for yourself. You did what was right for you in that moment, and that's what matters most. Story number 2. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife she isn't a single mother? Me, 31 male, and my wife, 28 female, have been married 7 years. We have 3 kids together, 10 years, 7 years, and 4 years. For the last 6 years I have been the sole income for our family. I work up to 60 hours a week, sometimes 7 days a week. Despite this, I still come home and do housework like the cat boxes and cleaning the bathroom. My wife, on the other hand, does the dishes maybe once every other week and is supposed to be homeschooling the kids. I say she is supposed to be because I work second shift, so I leave at 4 p.m. and get home around 2 a.m. When I wake up at noon, she is always in bed next to me, and the kids are playing the Switch in the next room. She says she does the schooling between 8 and 11 because she read that kids only need 3 hours when you're homeschooling, and she also doesn't do Mondays. When I go to work, she is usually at her TV playing video games and the kids are still on the Switch. Anyway, I confronted her about the homeschooling and she got really angry. She said how dare I question her parenting since I'm never home, and she is basically a single mother. This isn't the first time she's called herself a single mom, as I've heard her say it in front of my parents, and her mom. I told her she wasn't a single mom. I spend every moment I'm not at work or sleeping with them, and I work hard to provide because we are still financially struggling. She was going to get a job after the kids were all in school but then decided to homeschool. I told her calling herself a single mom is insulting to mothers who are working and doing everything completely on their own. Well, now she's not talking to me and asked me if I wanted a divorce, as she always does when we have an argument. Am I the a-hole, or am I right to tell her to stop calling herself a single mom? I don't believe you are the a-hole in this situation. It's understandable that you feel frustrated and upset about your wife referring to herself as a single mother, especially considering your efforts to provide for your family and participate in household duties despite your demanding work schedule. Your contribution to the family, both financially and in terms of household chores, is significant, and it's reasonable to expect recognition and appreciation for that. The term single mother typically refers to someone who is raising children entirely on their own, without the support of a partner. In your case, it sounds like you are actively involved and contributing to the family's well-being, which does not make her a single parent, but she may mean that she feels like a single parent. Her insistence on identifying as a single mother in reaction to your confrontation suggests there are underlying issues in your relationship and her perception of your family dynamics. It's possible that she feels overwhelmed or unacknowledged in some aspects of her role at home, which could be contributing to her behavior and comments. Considering this, it might be beneficial for both of you to see a therapist, individually and possibly as a couple. A therapist can help your wife address any feelings of isolation or overwhelm she might be experiencing and explore why she feels compelled to identify as a single mother. Couples therapy can also provide a safe space for both of you to communicate your feelings, understand each other's perspectives, and work together to improve your relationship dynamics. If you don't want to divorce and are willing to work through these issues, professional guidance can be a valuable tool in navigating these challenges and strengthening your relationship. Story number 3. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter if she keeps her pregnancy I'm kicking her out? I live alone with my 20-year-old daughter. My wife, her mother, died back in 2021, and I've been really struggling staying on top of the bills and barely have been able to keep us afloat. My daughter can't hold down a job, she quits or is let go from every job she lands, so I'm financially supporting her. She is my daughter, so I don't have the heart to kick her out of my home, but still having to take care of her financially has been a big burden on me. For Christmas, neither of us really had any money, so we did really small gifts this year. One of the gifts she got me was a pregnancy test that indicated she was pregnant. I started panicking. The thought of having to financially support another person while also guaranteeing my daughter won't be able to get a job got me sick to my stomach. Also, the fact she thought I'd be excited by the news tipped me off to the fact she was planning on keeping it. When I asked questions, she told me she isn't positive about who the father is and was going to keep it. I've explained to her if she keeps the baby I am going to have to kick her out of the house. She started arguing with me that I couldn't do that, but I was very firm in that if the baby stays with her, she cannot live in this house. She isn't ready to be a parent whatsoever, and I will not be able to support them. She accused me of forcing her to get an abortion, which I denied. She can keep the baby, she can put it up for adoption, or she can abort. What she can't do is keep the baby and live with me. When I told my sister about this, she was furious at me and said I should be thrilled to add a member to the family. I said if she's so excited my daughter can live with her then. She scoffed. Obviously, because she couldn't afford to support them either. Am I being an a-hole by putting this on my daughter? I don't believe you are the a-hole in this situation. The circumstances you're in are incredibly challenging, especially as a single parent still struggling with the loss of your wife and the financial burden of supporting your household. You are faced with the prospect of an even greater financial strain, and it's clear that you're already stretched thin. It's a tough situation for any parent to be in, but setting boundaries is important, especially when it involves significant life changes and responsibilities. Your daughter, at 20, needs to understand the implications of her choices, particularly when it affects not just her life but yours as well. The reality of raising a child, especially when she's struggling to hold down a job, is something she needs to seriously consider. You're not forcing her to make any specific choice regarding her pregnancy. You're simply outlining the realistic consequences of her decision to keep the baby. It's a responsible approach to an incredibly difficult situation. As for your sister's reaction, it's ironic and somewhat telling that she's willing to scold you but not to offer practical help or take your daughter in herself. It's easy to have opinions about what others should do, but it takes real commitment and resources to actually help out in a tangible way. You might want to consider having a calm, in-depth conversation with your daughter about her options and the realities of each. While you love your daughter and want to support her, it's also important to take care of your own well-being and financial stability. You're doing the best you can in a challenging situation, and setting boundaries is a part of that. Story number 4. Would I be the a-hole if I divorced my husband after the death of our child? My husband, Liam, 39 male, and I, 36 female, have been married for 11 years, together for 15. A couple of years ago, our little bundle of joy, our 6-year-old daughter, was snatched away from us in a car accident, in which Liam was driving. I was back home when I had received a call from the hospital. Liam was in ICU for a month, while I received the terrible news of the death of our daughter who died on the spot. He went in shock when he heard the news. Ever since then, Liam has completely withdrawn from me. He took off all the pictures which contained our daughter, turned her room into his study, and pretended as if our daughter never existed. I knew he was grieving. Many times I had heard him silently weeping in our daughter's room. I tried to get him into therapy, or for us to go to counseling, but he had shut down my offer every single time, and goes into a rage whenever I mention it. He yells, he breaks things, and storms off, and doesn't come back home for a couple of days, leaving me worried sick. He barely comes home nowadays, completely avoids me, and rejects my every attempt for comfort. Once, when I had tried to make him understand that this wasn't what our daughter would have wanted, he completely lost it, smashed a flower pot against the wall, and told me to go F myself or better, die and never come back. Liam was never like this. He was a very sweet, calm and patient man, and loved our daughter to death, so much so that her first word was Dada. I still love him, but I miss our daughter too. I need some comfort too. Neither of us have any siblings, and our close friends are in different countries. Liam is no contact with his mother while his father had died shortly after the birth of our daughter. My parents tried to comfort me as much as they could. They told me to be patient with him, to help him get back on his feet, but I am tired. I tried everything. Earlier, we used to share the household chores, but now I have completely taken them on myself so that he can grieve in peace. I cook his favorite meals, which he throws away without even taking a single bite. The last straw was a couple of months ago, when I had told him if he doesn't get into therapy, I'd file for a divorce. He coldly smiled at me, and thanked me for showing him my true colors. He told me to go ahead with the divorce since I seemed so eager to ditch him. I feel guilty, horrible and completely useless, but I just can't go on like this any longer. Should I give him more time? Would things get better? Would I be the a-hole if I leave him now when I am supposed to be comforting him? You are absolutely not the a-hole in this situation. The loss of a child is one of the most devastating experiences a parent can endure, and each person copes with grief in their own way. It's clear that the way your husband Liam is dealing with his grief is not only unhealthy for him, but is also deeply affecting you. His behavior, including removing all reminders of your daughter and turning her room into a study, indicates a level of denial and avoidance that is concerning. I'm glad that you remember that you too are grieving the loss of your daughter. While your intentions to support Liam are compassionate and understandable, your own need for support and comfort is equally valid. Grief can be an isolating experience, and when compounded with the behavior from Liam, it can feel overwhelming. Your efforts to encourage therapy and counseling are wise and necessary steps in dealing with such profound loss. Liam's refusal to seek help and his aggressive reactions are red flags that cannot be ignored. It's not sustainable or healthy for you to be in an environment where you are not only neglected but also subjected to hostility and anger. The decision to file for divorce in the face of such circumstances is not an easy one, but it is a decision that prioritizes your mental and emotional well-being. It's clear that you've tried multiple avenues to help Liam and to save your marriage, but without his willingness to participate in the healing process, there's only so much you can do. Grieving the loss of a child and facing the potential end of your marriage simultaneously is an immense burden. Please make sure to seek support for yourself, whether through therapy, support groups, or leaning on friends and family. You have the right to a life where you feel safe, respected, and cared for. You are not abandoning Liam by choosing to divorce. You are taking a necessary step to protect your own well-being. It's a brave and difficult decision, but your health and happiness are important. You deserve to be in an environment where you can grieve, heal, and eventually find peace. Story number 5. Am I the a-hole for giving my children permission to defend themselves and ruining my brother's visit? My brother has 2 stepkids, 10 and 8, that are absolute brats. He is infatuated with their mother though, so he will not discipline them. It's fine because we do not see them much. Over the holidays he came over with his family, and the kids were horrible. My daughter, 11, and my son, 10, wanted nothing to do with them. I gave them permission to go to their rooms and lock the doors to keep the peace. My brother and his wife started complaining because my kids were being bad hosts. I said that I wasn't going to make my children unhappy to appease his. Eventually my kids did come out to try and play together again. His kids started pushing my son around. He told them to stop, but they wouldn't. My daughter told them to stop bugging her brother, but they wouldn't. They came to us and told us what was going on. My brother called them tattletales and told them to just go play and deal with it themselves. I asked him if that's what he really wanted. He said yes, let kids be kids. I took him to my daughter's room and pointed out that she had multiple belts and trophies from martial arts. Then I showed him my son's room, same thing. Then I went back to the living room and told my kids, in front of him and his wife, that they had my permission to defend themselves. He immediately called his kids over and told them to behave. Their mom was not pleased. She said that her kids were just having fun. I said that my kids' idea of fun was probably a little more violent than hers. Long story short, they behaved for about 10 minutes and then they decided to test my kids. One black eye and an arm bar later, his kids are sitting on the couch while my brother and his wife yell at me for raising brutes. For the record, each of his kids, although younger, are bigger than my daughter, and they had had multiple warnings to play nice. So currently, there is a huge family fight because I let my kids beat up his innocent angels. Unfortunately for him, most of the people that have met his kids are asking what they did to provoke mine. My mom says that I should not have told my kids to defend themselves. I told her that she was welcome to host any and all gatherings that involved those brats. Last time they were there, they destroyed a stuffed animal that had the remains of her last dog. She doesn't like having them in her house either. Am I the a-hole? I'm going to judge this post as everyone sucks here. While I understand your frustration with your brother's lack of discipline towards his stepchildren and the difficulties in managing the situation, encouraging physical retaliation from your children wasn't the best course of action. It would have been more appropriate and mature to ask your brother and his family to leave your home when their behavior became unacceptable. This sets a clear boundary without resorting to violence. On the other hand, your brother and his wife also bear responsibility for this situation. Allowing their children to behave disruptively and disrespectfully without intervening or setting boundaries is not appropriate. Their lack of action led to an environment where conflict was almost inevitable. It's concerning that your brother dismissed your children's complaints and didn't take the opportunity to address his children's behavior. It's understandable that you wanted to protect your children and make them feel safe in their own home. However, endorsing physical defense in this scenario might have escalated the situation rather than resolving it. In the future, it might be more effective to set nonviolent boundaries and enforce them firmly, such as asking disruptive guests to leave. It might be helpful to have a calm, honest conversation with your brother about how his children's behavior affects others and set those boundaries with him before the next gathering. Thank you for joining us for today's journey through the whispers of the web. Share your thoughts and suggestions for our next adventure. If you're not yet a part of our whispering community, click the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications to never miss out on another story. Join us next time as we uncover another enthralling tale from the web. Until our next whisper.